Are you afraid of getting injured when lifting weights?
Are you actually afraid of strength training? Because we're hearing so much information out there about strength training and how beneficial it is, but you've never done it before. Are you worried about getting bulky muscles? And today we're going to tell you it's pretty easy.
Today I have the privilege of sitting down with my business partner and my dear friend, Dr. Stacy Sims, to cover all of your questions that you might have starting out in your strength training journey.
And this is my good friend, Haley Babcock, who is the premier strength and conditioning person in all of the conversations that has to do with women. So if we have a woman that is so used to doing cardio, so is a runner, has been into the endurance space for a really long time and is interested in starting a strength training journey. So she goes and she picks up 5-pound dumbbells and she thinks, okay, this is great. I'm going to do some bicep curls, might do some tricep extensions, and then maybe I'll do some squats. And I'll get the question, is that enough? So if we're talking to our strength conditioning expert, then I'd ask that question, do we think that that's enough?
Absolutely. So women need to feel comfortable and feel safe in the gym setting. And that comes with confidence by doing the work over time and repeating it rep after rep. So the program that we've designed and where we would start a female that's new on her strength training journey would be to start with lighter loads and more reps to safely transition her to where she gets comfortable lifting and in getting into all of the movement patterns that we want to master before we start adding heavier load to her plate.
So I'm notorious for saying lift heavy, especially when we get into perimenopause and onwards.
Yes.
For me, it's trying to explain to people that we want to tap into a central nervous system response, which is a neuromuscular. It's one of the very first responses that women get when they start strength training. Well, anyone, they start strength training. But it's really important as we start to have changes in our estrogen that we're using that external force. So if we're talking about lifting heavy, how do we do that safely?
Well, there is a buy-in period, and we talk about this often, about it being anywhere from 9 to 12 months, I would say, where we're building a foundation, we're getting you comfortable in the gym so that you have the confidence to pick up the heavier weights, you have the mobility, you have the skill set that will take you into those heavier, lift heavy patterns that will set you up for your heavy strength training for life. But Stacy, we always get this question about what is heavy lifting? Is that only 5 reps? And we always give the example of 5 reps of 5, but where does that fall in for someone that maybe is 60 years old and has been strength training at her home for 9 to 10 months, but she's only lifted maybe 10, 15 pounds? Is that considered heavy lifting? And where would we go to take her down into those lower reps? Is there only one rep range that women should lift in?
No, absolutely not. Well, I always use 5x5 because that's like the baseline.
Standard.
Yeah, it's the standard in the power-based training, which is what we're trying to do. But we could go 0 to 6 reps, and people are like 0 reps, well, that's your last one that you're going to fail. There's a few things that I try to get women, especially if they're working out at home, to understand, where we go by reps in reserve.
Yes.
That means you pick up a dumbbell and you do shoulder press, and you can do 6 really well, and then the last 2 you're starting to fail. So that would be 6 with 2 in reserve. So when we're trying to get people to understand what lifting heavy is relative to what they can do, I try to get them to understand reps in reserve. So a 5x5 might be 5 with 2 reps in reserve, and we do that 5 times. But again, it's not the be-all, end-all, because we have a whole range of periodization models we can use. We can look at cluster sets, we can look at French contrast, we can look at reverse pyramids. Like, there's so many things, which is what you're so beautiful in doing when you're writing your programs, because you're always looking at the consistency and how we build on people's skills and how we build people's strength, instead of just throwing people specifically in, here's 12 weeks of 5x5.
Yes. So, and then the question that will come up as well that's super common is, well, what if I have X injury and I don't feel comfortable lifting in 5 reps or under? Is there a place for everyone in the strength training world with different rep ranges?
Absolutely. The idea of encouraging older women to lift heavy is one, we've never been exposed to that. And we know that strength training is so valuable for doing things like reducing your risk for dementia and cognitive decline. Because if we're looking at lifting heavier loads, then we're really taxing the central nervous system, we're taxing the neuroplasticity or the brain's ability to change neural pathways, and that's really important as we're aging. But if you're doing any kind of strength work and you're pushing load against what you normally do, then that's strength training. And we want women to be able to do that. We want women to be able to pick something up off the ground and put their groceries away when they're older. Does that mean that you have to be able to do a 100-kilo deadlift? No, not at all. It means that you are staying within your range of comfort of skill.
Yes.
But you're still able to add load and be safe. So if you're injured and you can't lift what you normally do, maybe we're doing some modifications that allow you to tax the muscles in a different way that's going to encourage an adaptation that's going to benefit you when your injury is over.
Now, why do we get injured more during this peri and postmenopausal phase of life?
We have estrogen receptors everywhere, and we see that there is a significant decline in our overall strength because estrogen is so tightly tied to muscle function, including how strong the muscle contraction is, how fast we have a nerve conduction for firing rate, and we also see that estrogen is responsible for lean mass development. So as we start changing our ratios of estrogen and progesterone, having changes in our estrogen totality, we're having changes also in how sensitive our estrogen receptors are. So we start to see changes in our soft tissue. We get weakening in our muscles, especially our calf muscles, which can onset plantar fascia issues. We see a lot of frozen shoulder and other tendinopathies because of the receptors within the tendons not being stimulated enough to create nuances within the tendon to respond to different tension strengths. But if we're lifting, then we're able to create that tension strength and that ability to have more plasticity within the tendons and ligaments through the responses of strength training.
And I think a big part of the conversation that we already talked about earlier is not rushing in too soon and having that buy-in period, because a lot of women come into our courses and our programs and they want to lift heavy now. So in another conversation, you get women that are a little more timid to start, and then there's the women that want to go right out of the gate, but there is that buy-in period that is non-negotiable.
Right, absolutely. It's like driving a new car. Right. You get a new car and the first 2 weeks you're really hesitant, you're a little bit slower on the accelerator, you're a bit more aware of what's going on because it's that buy-in to getting familiar with it. So whenever someone starts a new strength training program, we want that buy-in. So you understand how your body's moving under the different loads, what the different rep ranges are, how your mobility is, what any kind of sticking points are, is there a strength discrepancy from side to side? All of those things need to be brought to the surface to be aware of before you can start actually adding that load. So I know strength training is a new conversation being had in women who are 40 plus. I come from a long endurance background. Haley comes from a long endurance background. We found the love of strength training for all the benefits, not only for the confidence that you get when you know that you can hit one of the challenges that you set forth in the gym, but also the way that you are able to carry yourself and bring that confidence from the gym outward. The gym isn't off limits to anyone. Don't be intimidated. If you want to start at home, start at home. The goal for us and for you watching this channel is to give you the information you need to get started. Strength training is a journey for life, and it doesn't mean you have to look like Miss Olympia. It means that you're looking forward to being strong, to being able to be self-fulfilling in your own quality of life when you get to be 90, 100, 110, because I'm looking for Zimmer frame races.